What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Blitzball Champ is back here on YouTube with a brand new video. So, now that the Carolina Panthers NFL preseason for 2019 is officially in the books after tonight's game of Panthers versus Steelers, I wanted to take some time to kind of do a little 2019-2020 season preview and just sort of give my thoughts on just all that's happened as get prepared for the start of the NFL regular season. Um, so let's get started. Carolina Panthers finished the preseason with a record of 2-2. Won the first game against the Bears, lost against the Bills, lost against the Patriots, and then won the last game against the Steelers. I wanted to go through and ESPN.com has an article about their supposed projected 53-man roster, because of course they gotta cut down the roster to 53 by the end of day Saturday. But I just kind of wanted to go through this list and just give my take on it. So first off, starting with the quarterbacks, their projected picks were, of course, Cam Newton, Kyle Allen, and Will Grier. To be honest with you, after tonight, I think they should replace Kyle Allen with Taylor Heineke. I feel like he has done well enough to earn him a spot. And I personally feel like the three quarterbacks should be Cam Newton, Taylor Heineke, and Will Grier. Will Grier had a decent preseason. You know, he was our draft pick out of West Virginia. Still has a lot of areas to grow. He's thrown a few picks in the preseason, but I feel like he has potential to really grow over time and could become a great quarterback. He has a lot to learn, has a lot to really take in, but it could have been a lot worse. But I really feel like between Kyle Allen and Taylor Heineke, I really feel like Heineke had the better preseason, and I feel like he should get the spot. I really feel like he should get the spot. So my three would be Cam Newton, Taylor Heineke, and Will Grier. The running backs. Now this was a very interesting position battle. They projected, of course, Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Scarlett, and Cameron Artis-Payne, which Jordan Scarlett was one of the draft picks. This is tough. This is really tough. As far as the preseason, I really liked Jordan Scarlett. I really liked Elijah Holyfield, and I also like Reggie Bonifant. Here's the thing. I hope that whoever doesn't make the squad maybe can get a practice squad spot, but Reggie Bonifant did quite a bit this preseason to really put up a good argument against the likes of Jordan Scarlett and Elijah Holyfield. My thing with Cameron Artis-Payne, I mean, he's been on the team for a couple of years now, and he hasn't really gotten much of a chance to really play much in his career. So this is tough. This is really tough. But I mean, I don't know, dude. Do you want really take a chance at starting, some younger talent in Jordan Scarlett and Elijah Holyfield and Reggie Bonifant? I really feel like at the end of the day, you can really go with any set of running backs in this situation, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but I feel like whatever the final result will be, will still be good. Will still be good because, like I said, I like Holyfield, I like Bonifant, I like Jordan Scarlett. I like those three. I like all three of them. So I really I'm really interested to see who they decide to keep because I felt like the position battle at running back was really, really exciting. Of course, for fullback, Alex Arma, that ain't changing. Um, Wide receivers, they projected DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Chris Hogan, Jarius Wright, Torrey Smith, Terry Godwin. Um, I honestly feel like this could work. I think this could work. But I think it also comes down to like who they decide to keep on the running backs as well. If they decide to keep four running backs instead of three or whatnot. But I like this group. I like this group of wide receivers. Um, got many options here that can really work with Cam. And of course, the idea is DJ Moore is the new number one. Uh, we see a good balance of speed and even like some veteran leadership as well, coming from Torrey Smith, coming from Chris Hogan. So I think this is a good wide receiver core that I really feel like can really make plays. You know, and with Cam Newton being in many different situations of not really having a true number one wide receiver, at least not since Steve Smith. I feel like this is a group that he can definitely work with. As far as Terry Goodwin, I fully expect him to be on special teams, either as punt returner or kick returner. I think it's safe to say that I think he would probably make the team as special teams. Tight ends. Uh, Tight ends got Greg Olson, Ian Thomas, Chris Manhertz is the prediction, and honestly, I feel like that's exactly what it's going to be. I don't really see much change from that. I know Ian Thomas has been dealing with some injuries, so Chris Manhertz has carried most of the load, but I do expect Ian Thomas, with as well as he did last year, really kind of filled that backup spot when Greg Olson was hurt. So I don't see the tight end situation changing. I think this is pretty much set in stone. Um, my biggest concern, offensive line. Their projected picks are Trey Turner, Matt Paradis, Greg Little, Taylor Moton, Daryl Williams, Tyler Larson, Greg Van Roten, Taylor Hearn, and Dennis Daly, which I know Dennis Daly was one of the draft picks. Greg Little was second round draft pick, I believe. Um, Here's the thing. I truly feel like I know it's preseason, but I still feel like the offensive line is the main weak link of the Carolina Panthers. I really wish this would have been the key number one focus of the offseason. Now, I know they went and they picked up Matt Paradis. I know they drafted Greg Little. I just, me personally, they never should have gotten rid of Andrew Norwell. I would have franchised him. When you have a player, an offensive lineman on your team that since playing on the team has never let a defender get through, you just don't you can't get rid of somebody like that. You just don't. You just don't. So I really I'm worried. I'm worried about the Carolina Panthers offensive line. I just don't, especially considering that they have their first regular season game against the Rams, and they have like, you know, they have the top defensive lineman and Darnold. They have the top defensive lineman in the league. So I'm just I'm really not confident in this offensive line. I'm not. And I'm just being honest. I'm being honest. I'm not confident in this O line. And we'll see how this first game goes in the regular season, but I'm not confident that this line can really protect Cam and really just be effective. Now, I will say this: in this last preseason game, they did finish strong. I will say that. They still gave up a few sacks, but at least they finished strong, in the win against the Steelers. So, I mean, there were some good moments. There were some good moments. But, it's just like I said, when you got to take on somebody like Aaron Donald, like, dude is a beast. Dude is a beast. And that's what they got to deal with in that first regular season game. And I'm just not convinced that they can hold their own. But hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm dead wrong. But for now, that's my biggest concern, especially for the offense. Moving on. Defensive line. Projected picks are Gerald McCoy, K1 Short, Dontari Poe, Kyle Love, Vernon Butler, Effie Obata. Um, I really like the D line, and I totally believe that this can be an effective D line, especially with the addition of Gerald McCoy. Um, we got K1 Short back. Dontari Poe did not really do that well last season, but with the defense switching to 3-4, which is something that he played very well in Atlanta. Hopefully, this will help him to, get that spark back because he didn't really do too well last season. Vernon Butler, I'm gonna tell you right now, this year will probably be his last shot because he has been a disappointment, especially for being, a former first round draft pick. Vernon Butler's been a disappointment. So this year will probably be his last chance to really prove himself. Otherwise, I really don't see him on this team after the end of the season. But I feel like overall, you got some good guys on the D line. Um, I think the D line will be all right. For linebackers, they had projected, of course, Luke Kuechly, Shaq Thompson, Bruce Irvin, Brian Burns, Mario Addison, Marquise Haynes, Christian Miller, Jared Norris, Jermaine Carter, Andre Smith. For starters, linebacker core very, very strong. Brian Burns had a phenomenal preseason, racked up some sacks during the preseason. I think he had like 5 sacks, I believe, either 4 or 5 sacks. So I really feel like, with him being the first round draft pick, Brian Burns really had a strong preseason. So I have no doubt that he will fit well, whether is a starter, whether he's in rotation, whether he's playing the linebacker spot, whether he's playing an edge rusher. I really believe Brian Burns will definitely be a big, big spark on the defense this year, as shown in the preseason. Of course, in picking up Bruce Irvin will definitely help. Some veteran presence on the defense as well. Um, Honestly, I really feel like this is a strong linebacker core that can really, really do some damage. As part of the front seven. So hopefully them plus the D line can really wreak havoc on opposing offensive lines and even on opposing quarterbacks as well. Hopefully, they can rack up sacks and cover well. Um, my biggest concern on the defense, the secondary. Their projected picks are Eric Reed, Trey Boston, Colin Jones, Rashawn Golding, James Bradbury, Dante Jackson, Corn Elder, Ross Cockrell, Javian Elliott. I'm gonna tell you right now, I am not confident in Corn Elder. I'm just I I'm just not confident that he can really do any sort of damage, especially after getting destroyed in the game last year against Seattle. Russell Wilson truly exposed him, and I just really believe that if Corn Elder makes the team, this is I really feel like this is his one and only shot to make the best of it. I don't think he will, but I hope I'm wrong. I just really am not confident in Corn Elder. I'm not. Um, I am more confident in Javian Elliott. I feel like he has the opportunity to really push for that nickel spot. Um, I was very thankful that they brought in Trey Boston. You know, somebody that's played on this team before, that's is familiar with the group. Uh, putting him at the free safety position, of course, back there with Eric Reed, I think will work pretty well. Um, I really hope that Dante Jackson can really break out this year and really just capitalize like he did earlier last season. I'm really hoping that Action Jackson can really make some noise in the secondary this year. He needs it. He needs it badly. James Bradbury, he's kind of been quiet as well, so I'm hoping that James Bradbury can really get his spark back and really do some damage. But secondary really struggled a lot last season. So I'm just really, really hoping that they can get it together this year and really just, of course, with the defense coordinator and Eric Washington, which can't say that I'm really a fan of, but hopefully with Ron Rivera, hopefully, giving some assistance on the defense and the play calling, I'm hoping that'll balance things out. But yeah, that's my biggest concern with the defense is the secondary. Of course, the specialists. This is interesting. So they predict Graham Gano, Michael Pilardi, J.J. Jansen. Michael Pilardi, J.J. Jansen, I feel like are sure, like set in stone. Joey Sly has had an excellent preseason. He's been making some great kicks. Other than like one blocked kick, he has made some great kicks. Tonight he hit a 59-yarder. So I really feel like maybe you put Graham Gano on IR and you stick with Joey Sly. I mean, I know it's not really common to keep two kickers, but and I love Graham Gano. He's done great for this organization, but it might be time to move on from him. I hate to say that, but it might be time to move on from him. Because with Joey Sly, he's really had an excellent preseason, and he's been consistent and reliable. So maybe they use Graham Gano as trade bait. Who knows? But I just I don't think you can ignore Joey Sly. I would have a hard time not putting him on the team. I think he makes the team. Um, yeah, I think he makes the team. And let's take a look. Let's do a little preview of the Carolina Panthers schedule. So, gonna just go down the list. So, as I said earlier, they open up against the former NFC champions of last season, the Los Angeles Rams. Uh, they are really going to be tested right at the beginning of the season, and this is a big, big test. I'm not going to say they don't have a chance at winning, but I feel like it's kind of a low chance. But I hope I'm wrong. But this is going to be a really difficult game. Really. I know they're at home, but this is going to be a difficult game. Next up, already, second game of the season, they have their first divisional game against Tampa Bay at home, which I know Tampa Bay won one game. They split last year, but I'm still not really too concerned about Tampa Bay. I'm not. Carolina has had a pretty good history of beating Tampa Bay, at least within the last couple of years. So I'm not too worried about Tampa Bay. Uh, then our first away game is against the Arizona Cardinals. Uh, they got their first round draft pick in Kyler Murray. I mean, Arizona hasn't really done too well in the preseason this year, but I don't. I just hope it's not a trap game. I hope it's not a trap game, but we should be able to handle Arizona. Lord willing, we should be able to handle Arizona. Um, then they continue on the road against the Houston Texans, which that can potentially be a tough game. You know, Sean Watson, going up against J.J. Watt, you know, that could be a potentially be a tough team. DeAndre Hopkins, like they got some great weapons on their team. So that's going to be a tough game. I think that'll be a tough game. Uh, the Hall game, the Panthers Hall game, uh, will be home against the Jacksonville Jaguars, the same team that they came into the league via the expansion back in '96. Very, very nice. Of course, Jacksonville now has Nick Foles as their quarterback. Um, I mean, I'm not gonna say Jacksonville is terrible, but we definitely don't want to sleep on Jacksonville. We don't want to sleep on Jacksonville. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And then Carolina will travel to London to face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the second time. So it's technically considered the away game, but it's kind of an away game for Tampa Bay as well. But yeah, this game will be in London. So this will be a 9:30 a.m. broadcasted game, which I'll be at church. But and then right after that game is the bye week for Carolina. So that's actually a good bye week. The game after London. Give them time to like return and get back into the mix of things. So I really like that. That's their bye week. I think that's a good place in their schedule for a bye week. And then coming off the bye, they got an away game against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, they have Richard Sherman. They have supposedly returning Jimmy Garoppolo. If I remember correctly, they did pretty decent in the draft. So I don't think San Francisco will be too much of a problem, but you never know what you're gonna get from them. But because I believe they had a pretty good draft, so I think they'll be fine. But I don't want to sleep on San Fran. Uh, then they return home. First home game after the bye week against the Tennessee Titans. Um, you just never know what you're going to get out of Marcus Mariota. I mean, there have been games where Tennessee is just trash, and then there have been games where like Mariota will have like 4 or 5 touchdowns and will just blow up. So this game will be suspect because you never really know what kind of game Mariota will have. Um, and then we go back on the road again against Green Bay. Ooh, going to Lambeau Field, taking on Aaron Rodgers. Now I know Carolina beat them the last time they played, but um, going up against the Packers and Aaron Rodgers and Lambeau, always a tough place to play. So definitely don't want to take that lightly. It's going to be a tough game. Going to be a tough game. And then they return back home for their first meeting against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, of course, last season they lost both games to Atlanta. So this is going to be a tough game, and I really hope they can set the tone and get this first win at home. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. Atlanta is still a very strong team in the NFC South, so this game will definitely be difficult. And then, right after that, they get back on the road for another divisional game against the New Orleans Saints. And of course, you know, even though they split last season, um, Saints have always been tough. Drew Brees, excellent quarterback, can still deliver. Alvin Kamara, he's a beast, difficult to stop. And Michael Thomas, like the Saints are still good. They were in the NFC Championship game last season. So you don't want to sleep on the Saints. They're going to be really, really tough. They're going to be more difficult than Atlanta. And then they return home to play the Washington Redskins. Now, this here is going to be a tough game as well because remember, Carolina lost to Washington last season, and Washington got a lot of takeaways in that game. A lot of takeaways. So I'm not gonna overlook and underestimate the Redskins. This will be a tough game. It may be in a home game, but it's gonna be a tough game. Uh, and then it's right back to Atlanta. In Atlanta, it's like I always said before. Carolina has had a really really rough history of playing in Atlanta. They just have like the hardest time in Atlanta. They just can't seem to beat the Falcons in Atlanta. So this could potentially be one of their hardest games of the season. Just with that alone. Um and then they go back home to face the Seattle Seahawks. Now, lately, year after year, this has really become a strong rivalry game for Carolina and Seattle. So Seattle beat them last year. So hopefully Carolina can return the favor this season. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. Um, and then their last away game of the season will be against the Indianapolis Colts. This will be interesting, especially now that Andrew Luck retired, which came out of nowhere. So this will be interesting. I really can't say this will be an easy or a difficult game, but it'll be an interesting game. And then they will finish off the season at home against the New Orleans Saints. Now, depending on how well they do up to then, this could potentially be the game that either gets them into the playoffs or not. Hopefully that won't be the case, but it'll be tough. It'll be tough. But it's really going to depend on how well their record is this season. So, looking Looking at the schedule, I mean, if you ask me, it's a pretty balanced schedule. I think there it has its share of difficult games, manageable games, and hopefully easy games. Because if you ask me, Tampa Bay, Arizona, maybe San Francisco, maybe Indianapolis should supposedly be easy games. But we'll just have to see. All I know is I'm excited for this season, but like I said, my main worries are the O line and the secondary, defensive secondary. Um, as far as Cam Newton, this I really feel like the this may be Cam Newton's last last stand. Like, I think he has maybe one more year on his contract after this season, and it's really going to depend on how well he does this season. I mean, he's bounced back, got his shoulder repaired. He's made some adjustments. Had the scare with the sprained ankle in the third preseason game, but it looks like he's on schedule to start in the opening week for game one. Uh, but yeah, he's got a big chip on his shoulder, and he's gonna really be tested. This is Cam's time to either shine or fail miserably. But I'm in full support, and all I can say is all that have followed and kept up with Cam Newton know that he is dangerous if he's healthy. And I'll just leave it at that. Leave your comments. Give me your thoughts. What do y'all think? What do you think the 53-man roster should look like? What do you think of their schedule? What do you think are the difficult games, the easy games, like back and forth? What kind of record do you see the Carolina Panthers finishing with this season? Um, Let me know what y'all think. Thank y'all so much for watching, and let's gear up for the Carolina Panthers 2019-2020 season. Check y'all later. Keep pounding. God bless.